we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Steve Hook, host of The Right Hook, which you can find every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on Ex-American News. How you doing this afternoon, Steve?
Very good, Michael. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing a lot better than the wine moms at TikTok, that's for sure. I don't know if you've had any encounters with these people in the real world, but yeah, over the last, 4 or 5 days, I've run into two of them now. One was a little more sane. The other one was a waitress at a restaurant that was just off her rocker, basically talking about, oh, well, he was a Leo, she was a Gemini, one of the detectives was a Cappuccino, and the star signs don't align, so she couldn't have committed these murders. I mean, these people think they have like a valid information. Like, I get it. There's people that have solved cold cases, 50 years afterwards by uncovering some piece of evidence or, linking things up or whatever. But these are just idiots, just talking to talk. And then there's other ones having mental breakdowns. And that's about to get a lot worse. Let's go ahead and pull our first story here. Breaking: judge denies mistrial motion from Lindsay Clancy's defense team. Now, I just read through this. Basically, it's all based on a witness, a psychologist. That part of the discussion was her Catholic beliefs, and then asking her, well, isn't suicide a mortal sin? I don't understand how any of that justifies a mistrial. I do understand it being to, well, no, I don't. I really don't get that either. Somehow, like, lessen her guilt, but yeah, that just happened. So prepare, inbound more insanity from people on TikTok that just want to sound important. I mean, I really can't think of any other way to describe it. Or they really are all just nuts.
Yeah, this case is just such a gut wrencher. We talked about this the other day. I have no doubt postpartum is very real, but this is years after the fact.
Yeah, that's another thing.
She one at a time strangled her kids to death, one after the other after the other. And now people are saying, well, she's innocent. Well, she's not innocent.
No.
She's not innocent. She did it. I just think that these women that jump on board and say men don't even have a right to discuss this. Well, I'd say the father has a damn right to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good Lord. I in a way, and I even said it, mental illness is no joke. And if they can prove that she was mentally unstable, okay, fine, lock her up in a psych ward for the rest of her life. But for God's sake, she deserves something for the rest of her life, because three innocent kids are dead at the hands of that woman. And to hear these women on TikTok and on various social sites defend this, the kids are an afterthought to them. They don't even think about the kids. All they're thinking, they don't even think about the husband. They don't think about the father. all they're thinking about is this woman. And ironically, this is the only time they can identify what a woman is when something like this happens. Now all of a sudden they know, well, you men can't discuss it. You don't know anything about what being a woman's all about. Oh, really? Tell that to the WNBA. But I
Yeah.
digress. Look, in a way, I feel for this woman because she's gonna have to live with what she did for the rest of her life. And if she wasn't psychologically screwed before, she certainly will be going forward. But 3 people are dead. 3 innocent children are dead at the hands of this woman. Why she did it, whatever undiagnosed psycho problem she may have had, that's almost an irrelevancy to me.
Yes.
The kids should be first and foremost in this trial.
Yeah, I don't buy. Well, as you stated, the postpartum depression. I don't understand how that plays into this anyway, considering the age of the youngest and how old they were when she murdered her. We have a confession. I know some of them were like, "Well, that was under duress, talking to the police." I don't really care what it was. I mean, there's enough other physical evidence between DNA on the exercise bands and all this other stuff to confirm she did it. I don't care if they lock her. I mean, honestly, I hope the death penalty's on the table. I guess I should have checked that beforehand, and then I guess she won't have to suffer for long with what she's done. But this is disgusting. What's getting even worse about it is now we're having additional cases pop up with this. Copycat. Wife's chilling message to the father of her children as she slit their throats. And she said, I hope you told your children goodbye. So this just happened. Let me pull up another one. Ohio mom charged with murder of her daughters, buried in suitcases, pleads not guilty, competency evaluation ordered. This is just a few weeks ago. North Carolina mom who beat her 2-year-old daughter to death, demanded afterlife photo shoot, sentenced to life in prison. So this happened a while ago, but again, another psychopath. So I don't know what the hell is wrong with women right now. Virginia mother charged with murder of 17-month-old twins, sons, drowned them in the bathtub. This also just happened within the last 2 weeks. I don't know if all these stories are just popping forward because this case is going to trial right now, or it's really like there's a major problem. I don't know that it's all just social media and people trying to feel important. These wine moms, the same. I mean, these are the same people that were, demanding illegal aliens are allowed to stay here forever. We pay for everything, chasing ICE agents around. If they just want to feel like they're doing something, to feel important, and this is what they've latched onto at the moment. But I mean, when I watch some of these TikTok videos, there was another one, and I wish I could find this lady's name. It was a repost because I recognize her. I know she's a prominent leftist commentator, and you may know who this is, but I couldn't figure out what her name was. But she had a video talking about this case where she said, you think of them as like fragile porcelain dolls. And this was an accident, that Lindsay, she had mental health issues. They were diagnosed. And this is like her being in an expensive china shop and bumping into some fragile porcelain dolls, or I think she said vases, and breaking them. And then the store owner wants to hold her accountable for what she did. Like, there's a problem with that. She has to be held accountable for her actions. I mean, I don't buy the mental health insanity defense 98% of the time anyway. I mean, I really feel like I can understand some circumstances like walking in on your wife cheating or something like that where, we use that to excuse the actions. But I mean, basically, like, unless somebody like literally escapes a mental institution where they were under lockdown and then, I don't know, takes out a bus full of nuns, I feel like insanity is not really a fitting defense, or temporary insanity. Or if it is a defense, maybe it takes the death penalty off the table. I don't really like that either. But maybe it lessens something. They get time in a psych ward before they spend time in prison. But I don't feel like that's an excuse for the crime, especially when someone dies as a result of it.
And look here, Michael, here's the deal. I saw on Libs of TikTok shared a video of a woman saying that if she goes out on a first date and she asks her date, she goes, one of the first questions I'm going to ask him if she thinks, what's her name? Lindsay Clancy? I forget what her
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
She said, I will ask them what they think of her innocence. And if they say anything other than she's not, anything other than she's innocent, I'm out of there. I'm like,
Yeah.
You know what? I would hope you would ask that right out of the gate so I could get out of paying for your dinner. Because
Bingo.
You're an absolute nut. And I would say this, they can claim the mental issues all they want. This woman went one child to the next child to the next child. strangled them with exercise bands, and everybody knows she did it. And yet
Yeah.
the liberal white women of this world who are destroying this world, the world over, because it's not just liberal white women in America. These people exist in the UK too. And I'm sorry, but you're emotional beings, and maybe you ought to sit down and shut the hell up and think about 3 innocent babies that are dead. Think about the devastated father that has to live with that. Instead, all of your energy and all of your sympathy is directed at the woman that took exercise bands and strangled one kid, then a second kid, and then a third kid. You know, I remember it wasn't that long ago, Michael, when that what's her name, Smith girl, drove her kids into a lake
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
drowned them, and the whole world wanted her head on a pike.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward 20 years later or so, 25 years later, and now all of a sudden they're saying, well, those kids, you know, whatever, they're just it's all mental illness. You can't, you know, they're not even thinking about the kids.
No.
If the second you put your hand on a kid, your mental evaluation is irrelevant to me. It's just irrelevant. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen and it hasn't happened. I'm sure it has. But again,
Yeah.
postpartum, the youngest kid, I mean, she had these kids years ago.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that it really is a mass psychosis. This woman, now I will say this though, she's got some very good lawyers. There's no doubt about that. These lawyers have done a hell of a job for her. Can't fault them for doing the job that they've done. But the people that have bought into this crap, hook, line, and sinker, without once considering the children, without once considering the father, the grandparents, the other the other family members.
Yeah.
All they're putting all of their emotion and all their sympathy in the basket of this Clancy chick, who is a triple murderer. So, I mean, it's just I don't know. Common sense
Yeah.
has left the room.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's left the room a long time ago. I'm trying to get something on the screen here real quick. I wish I'd thought of this, but you mentioned, liberal white women being a plague on humanity right now. And this meme could not fit any better. So I'm going to get that up here real quick. That's, war, famine, pestilence, and death. And who are you? Liberal white woman, the fifth horseman of the apocalypse. But so I guess what really set me off about this over the weekend was watching again some of these TikToks and other videos that are up online of women basically saying, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this again," putting up these sob stories with them and their kids, saying, "I don't know if I can go through another day of this." Report every one of these women to the local police. If you see one of these and you know them and they're posting this stuff that they might snap and murder their kids, they need a visit from the local police. Now, I know most of them are just doing this for social media clout. I don't care. We need to start making them think about their actions, that they have consequences. And otherwise, it's going to continue, and it's going to get more and more insane. It's going to continue to escalate. They're going to try to top each other, and then one of them is going to take their kids out, and this is going to be their defense.
Well,
and you're going to say,
quite a few of them already have. And
yeah.
Right. And Michael, the thing is here's the problem as I see it. And we've talked about this before too. The left in general, and I'm not trying to speak in overarching broad brush strokes here, but it's just, it's just fact.
Yeah.
The left has no real sense of morality when it comes to this. This is why
it's flexible.
This is why they can applaud and cheer when they passed that law in Massachusetts that you can kill the baby up until the day of birth. I've seen some threads on that law, people saying that the baby can't feel pain. It's still a fetus. I'm like, are you out of your bloody mind? I mean, you really have to do some, I would say intellectual gymnastics, but there's nothing intellectual about it. You've got to do some real mental gymnastics to find yourself defending a woman like this, or a law that allows women to kill their baby up to the day of birth. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, well, no, that's so rare that would ever happen. It's only if the mother of that, yeah, you can say that, but that's not what the law says. The law says the woman can say, oh, I've had a bad day today. abort the baby. And guess what? The baby gets aborted. Or there's a breakup and the mother and the father split up a week before the baby is due. And the mother just decides, I can't look at this kid, kill it. And
Yeah.
that is what happens. And if you don't believe that happens, you ought to take a look at that Dr. Gosnell in Philadelphia. It
Yeah.
happened. And to deny that it happens just proves to me that the left today, and this is where all of these crazy wacko women reside, they've lost any sense of morality. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as God to them. God, they love Islam.
They
Don't
think
get me
they're
wrong,
God.
they love Islam, but they do not. If you're a white Christian, especially if we're a couple of white Christian males here talking about this, we have no idea what we're talking about. Meanwhile, they're batshit crazy. I just can't with these women. I just cannot with these women. I can't deal with them because they don't argue on intellect. They don't argue on fact. They don't debate issues. They throw emotions in front of everything, and that's where it starts and stops with
Yep.
them. And it's not even worth trying to debate them.
Well, I got another question here in a second. Great article we're going to bring up, but just so our audience knows, I actually had one other slide for this story. I must have accidentally saved over it or something else. But yet another woman that murdered her kids. I want to go back on something too. So that slide that I had, I guess I should just bring this up and scroll back to it. The slide that I had up for this North Carolina mom that beat her 2-year-old daughter to death and demanded these afterlife photos. Again, didn't cop to the murder until she was pressed on it. Then she admitted it. And then this other photographer, I guess was her friend, pretended to be sad, didn't know what happened, all this other stuff until shortly after that, they grabbed her, handcuffed her, and now she's going to jail for life. Again, they should give this person a needle in their arm or the firing squad. I would hang them publicly, but that's just me. So Revolver has a great article up kind of piggybacking on this, and you guys should go check this out. So hormones are dangerous for killer moms, but harmless for tranny kids. And again, we've talked about this before, and kind of tongue in cheek and kind of not. We've had a crazy number of assault trannies in the last few years, trannies that go on to commit mass shootings. And I think there is a connection there, just like I do with the SSRIs. I remember a big study that was done around 2010, 2011, where they looked at 59 different mass shooting cases, and all but 2, they were on SSRIs. I kind of feel like that's a correlation worth investigation. But I think it's the same with these cross-sex hormones now, and why we have all these moon bats out there shooting up schools or other places. And maybe even with women like this, if she was getting hormone therapy of some kind, maybe this is something we need to reevaluate. I get that for some people, like going through menopause or other things, that it's like life changing. They can get whatever back, or guys that are low T that need to get testosterone injections or whatever, that it gets their life back to normal. But I mean, I think this is like playing with a loaded gun that we don't fully understand. If it really is causing people to lose their minds and murder other people, maybe this is something we should take a bigger look at.
Perhaps so. I mean, I just know that it seems to happen in clusters now, and it seems to happen more frequently now.
No.
And what's changed, what's decidedly changed, is the public reaction to it. And maybe that's because back when Kate Smith killed her kids I think it was Katie Smith. Was that her name? The chick that drove the car into the lake.
That sounds right. I can't quite remember. I mean, I know exactly the case you're talking about.
Everybody remembers that story. Or the Texas mom that drowned her 5 kids in a bathtub. Remember that one happened back in, I don't know, 98, 99, thereabouts. The public reaction back in those days, and again, it's important to make this distinction. This is before social media. This is before TikTok was a thing. The social reaction was condemnation, outright condemnation. How can you do this? Your mental instability. Yes, you say you don't know right from wrong, but that doesn't play in 99 out of 100 cases. That it gets blown out of the water. People don't buy it. In this case, these lawyers are doing a pretty good job. But the difference is the public reaction. These women are now rallying to this girl's side, And if you asked any of these women, can you name the 3 children that were killed? They wouldn't know any of their names because they don't give a damn about the kids, just like they don't care about abortion. They don't have any sense of morality. The most important thing to them is them. They are the most important thing,
Yeah.
you know, and it is a little bit hysterical to watch them bitch and moan about how men shouldn't even be entering the conversation because you don't understand. While in the very next breath, they're saying that, that Sophie Cunningham is a transphobe that hates transgenders, when all she said was, I don't want men in little girls' locker rooms. I don't want men competing against women. Now, all of a sudden, they're just crazy on every level.
Yep.
And I mean, I think the best way to deal with those women is to mock them and point at them and laugh and point out how ridiculous they are, because they are ridiculous. And as far as these girls that are going on TikTok, like you said, and saying, I don't know if I can take this much, and maybe they're doing it for clicks or not. Well, good way.
I don't care.
Is to raid the house, wrap them in a straight jacket, and carry them out. Carry them to the funny farm. Carry them to the
Baker Act these bitches.
Yeah, just round them up, put them in straight jackets, and say, you want to act crazy? We're going to treat you like you're crazy now, because maybe you are. Maybe you are crazy.
And for any of our audience that doesn't know what the Baker Act is, that's what Florida calls it, for a 72-hour emergency psychological hold, where if somebody calls you and, say you're climbing light posts or doing anything else that's crazy, that they will haul you in and then evaluate you with up to 72 hours to make sure you're not a threat to yourself or other people. And again, I don't care if these people are just doing it for clicks. There need to be consequences. So if you start Baker acting a bunch of them, it's going to stop. But I mean, to your point you're making, I think you're exactly right on this. This is what happens when people say retarded stuff because they're completely guided by their emotions and their feelings, and they're making decisions and saying things because of that instead of looking at the facts of the case and operating logically. They identify with this poor lady who now might go to jail because she had postpartum depression and had the audacity to murder her kids. I mean, that's where she belongs. She belongs in prison with the rest of the scum. And again,
well, the thing is, it's a one-way street with them, though, Michael, on this argument, because they will defend her. Now, let's take a look at somebody like this Ruth kid that went into a Carolina church and killed all those black people.
Hmm?
He tried to claim mental illness. Not one of them would defend him. Not
of
one
course
of
not.
them would defend him. They would say he was a racist POS, and by the way, he was, and he got what he deserved. But the point is they're very selective in their outrage, and they're very selective in doling out compassion. And they only take on arguments that emotionally touch them the way they like to be touched, I guess. I don't know, but I do know that this woman, Clancy, is a murderess, and she will forever be known as a murderess. And I don't care how the verdict of this turns out. She will be a pariah from now on, and she ought to be. And with any luck, she will get the most severe punishment possible, because 3 children are dead at her hands. And I haven't forgotten that. And a lot of these crazy liberal women have completely forgotten that. And they feel good about that. They feel good that they've forgotten about it. Well, screw you, lady. Screw all of you that feel that way. This woman murdered 3 children.
Yeah, and these insane wine moms have raised at or over $1 million for her so far. Well, I guess she'll have plenty of money for commissary once she's in the clink. Well, speaking of insanity, the WNBA has finally figured out what a woman is, and it's not Enes Kanter or Royce White. They're both going to be ineligible for the WNBA draft. Guys, I smell a lawsuit and a big payday coming. Congratulations to both of you.
Yeah, well, this is, this is because they're trying to skirt the issue, don't you know, Michael? They weren't raised, they weren't born in the wrong body. They're making a mockery of trans. Once upon a time, look, I'm not transphobic because I think that's a stupid term.
I think the WNBA is.
What'd you say?
I think the WNBA is transphobic, and they just proved it to all of us.
Yeah, the WNBA. I mean, Enos Kanter is probably one of the bravest women I know.
Yeah.
But I would just say that that it's an organization that's run by, let's be honest here. Let's put the cards on the table. It's an organization run by angry lesbians. That's what it is. And as angry lesbians, they are going to lash out at society in any which way they can. And if embracing trans athletes, when you know damn good and well that Serena Williams said it years ago to Jay Leno, I would get her quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty damn close. I would get roasted on the tennis court against a male tennis player that was ranked 500th in the world. He would crush me.
Yeah.
So Serena Williams has enough, but they didn't come after her and say she was transphobic. Now let's put Djokovic in a tennis dress and put him on the court against one of these young female stars. How do you think that would go? It would go the same way Enos Kanter would go against the NBA. They would get crushed.
Dude, have you seen this clip that's going around? Like, I'm sure you've seen the one of the high school team smoking all these WNBA players from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
They had to go down to a grade school team to finally pick up a victory. And even then, it was a close game. And the grade school kids beat them in several of the events. I think the only thing the WNBA players won was the game to 21 at the end where it was 5-on-5. Otherwise, the high school basketball team beat them, grade school boys basketball team beat them in every event. I mean,
it's almost like biology is real.
Yeah, it's like there's a reason that we had women's sports reserved for actual biological women, so they could fairly.
It wasn't just WNBA stars that got trounced by high school and middle school boys. It was the U.S. women's soccer team went to high school.
Oh yeah,
and they got smoked. It wasn't even close. And I forget who it was. It was one of the former U.S. female stars. She goes, "There's not a state championship high school male team that we could beat. Not one state. They would all beat us." Now, I don't begrudge women the right to play sports, even professional sports. Have at it.
Yeah.
But let's just keep it women, not people that have psychological problems, not people that make this asinine claim I was born in the wrong body. There's not one scientific study that can confirm anything like that. That's BS. It's very simple. XXXY. Simple that. Pretty simple. And I'm just sick of them trying to re-engineer society to embrace the mental illness that is trannies, and they are mentally ill. Sorry. Sorry. Truth hurts. Sorry, not sorry.
Again, and I love that it's the trust the science crowd that keeps saying this, keeps bumping up into biology, which, guys, is still a science, by the way. But again, this is the same problem we have with the wine moms of TikTok, as I've been calling them. It's because they're guided by their emotions and their feelings, and they just want these poor, misunderstood trans women to be accepted. Oh, wouldn't it be beautiful? But they don't live in the real world. And that's what they keep bumping into. And when somebody like Royce White and Edith Cantor Freedom, discovers their womanhood, all of a sudden they're forced to address reality, and they can't do it. They can't admit that this is nonsense.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing that really kind of just seals the deal for me. They're saying that Enos Kanter Freedom and Royce White are only doing this for publicity reasons, and they're not really trans women. So they can't define a woman, but they can define a trans woman. So I wait a damn minute now. What do you mean? What about boys in high school that realize that they can get a full ride scholarship if they just decide to become a woman? And guess what? They can go to the school of their choice, so long as they can win the 100-yard or the 100-meter sprint or the 100-yard dash, whatever the hell it is.
Yep.
It's been a long time. But they will never acknowledge that, because they can't. because it
No.
blows their argument out of the water. They don't have an argument. They have emotions, as we've been talking about here.
Yes. Yeah, unless one of them can secretly see into their hearts and they know that they don't believe that they're a woman. Yeah. Again, it's obvious. Well, we got another one that the lefty mob is going to be angry about. I guess the new Black Panther Party. I don't know if you saw that video. I can't control myself. Carmelo Anthony's attempt to undo his conviction runs into an obstacle, his past. Yeah, he had all kinds of text messages, him threatening to shoot up a school, saying he wanted to stab somebody, the ex-girlfriend, whatever, being afraid of him. I mean, again, I can't believe none of this stuff came out at the trial, that they managed to suppress it then, because some of this, especially the wanting to stab somebody, kind of shows some motive, or that this was something that was on his mind. You know, maybe it was premeditated. I still think they should have let him have a second trial in Texas, but tell him it's going to be double or nothing. Don't let them exclude any evidence. He can get a new jury or whatever. But when he loses the second time, it's going to be 70 years, not 35, that he's got to spend in jail without the possibility of parole.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, this is an example of where the outrage lies with the left.
No.
They rally around the woman that killed her 3 children. They rally around this guy because, I mean, after all, he only killed a white suburban kid. Who was probably, who was living on stolen land.
Right. Forgot.
No doubt a future member of the white patriarchy. He was probably a Christian too. So he's a Christian nationalist white. That's the way they do. This is what the left does.
Yeah. So he was oppressing Carmelo Anthony. Don't believe the hype guys. This is absolutely self-defense.
Yeah, of course it was. Carmelo Anthony deserves to get shanked in prison because he shanked somebody in real life.
Well, it sounds like he has a bad attitude and can't get along with anybody anyway. I guess he's already been allegedly threatened in prison. So that's probably going to happen. He probably is going to get shanked in prison.
He may well. I mean, hey, listen, I'll say this. All these women that are coming to this Clancy woman's defense, once she's thrown into a prison, federal prison, and if she's in general population, she is not going to last, because those women in prison, there's a hierarchy in prison. If you go to prison as a male and you're accused of touching kids, you're as good as dead.
Pretty much.
Even raping women is frowned upon there. In many of these. But this Carmelo Anthony, once he gets in prison, and he's not going to be able to play this tough guy act anymore. He's gonna be begging for his mommy. There's no doubt about that. He's just not a tough guy. But he had a knife in his hand, and at that moment, he thought he was tough. And now, so predictably, the left comes out and defends him. Why? Because he's black. That's why. Why? Because
exactly.
They are racist. They are racist. Everything is seen through the prism of race. While they accuse the other side of being racist, the only reason they support Carmelo Anthony is because of his race, proving they are racist. I'd say if it happened the other way around, I would want the white kid to go to jail for the rest of his life.
Bingo. Because I don't really care.
Stab Carmelo Anthony to death, lock his ass up.
Exactly. He's a scumbag. Get rid of him before he kills somebody else.
Exactly. So, but the left can't think rationally, because the left is always trying to find fault with society, find fault with U.S. history, find fault with whatever it is that they're rebelling against, which seems to be common damn sense more often than not.
Oh, I think it is. I mean, I think a lot of it is just about sowing chaos, because if there was, a white perpetrator to a crime, and again, same example where the person's clearly guilty, lock his ass up, give him the chair. I want this guy gone. He's a problem. But again, they know that there are these emotionally imbalanced people out there that will hop onto this kind of stuff, and other grifters that think it benefits from them. Plus, when you weaponize education and you program people to think that they're still being, the blacks are still being oppressed, it's a societal problem, blah 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 blah. This victim mentality they try to instill into everybody. That's how this kind of stuff happens, and that's how you have these idiots that are out there that think somehow he's guilty. Oh, it just shouldn't have happened. Yeah, I mean, sorry, he crossed the line. He's old enough to know better. I don't care. This isn't something where it's an accident or something like that. I mean, I have some sympathy there for people that, in a real accidental capacity, kill somebody and they end up in jail for 60 years or whatever. I have some sympathy there, especially again, there's no intention, no anything, but that's where the judge is supposed to use their discretion, especially if they think genuinely upset and sorry about it. That's the other problem here is zero remorse, zero emotion, no anything. So no sympathy. And yeah, at least he gets to spend the next 35 years in prison. Let's jump to the next topic where the left is now losing their minds. This just happened a little while ago. Yeah, boy, Supreme Court clears the way for Trump's order that restricts mail-in voting, and they are already mad. They are already out there saying this is going to scramble the next election. The post office is going to steal your votes if you're a Democrat. They are, well, guys, you know what? Maybe we should just pass the SAVE Act, make people present a voter ID, prove they're U.S. citizens in this upcoming election, and that takes a lot of these questions off the table. We do need to get rid of all the voter rolls in all 50 states, and everybody needs to re-register to vote. And honestly, I think Trump ought to declare a national emergency today and put those things in place so we don't have to hear it's too close to the election before we can do it. And by the way, that is a valid path, and it would take a 2/3 vote from both houses in Congress for them to stop it. So a judge is not allowed to interfere. The Supreme Courts have already determined that.
Well, exactly right. They have. And of course, it did leave open more. It did leave open the opportunity for activist judges to retry this case. But it basically said, no, you can't stop this. You can't stop an EO directed at this. You can't. If Trump wants to limit mail-in votes, he has the authority to do that. Guess what? Because he does.
Yes.
There are two types of people on the left that are angry about this. There's the people that are so ideologically warped that they think that only, that poor people, be they mostly black, of course, this is the way the left thinks, not me. I'm just throwing that out there. That poor black people in the inner city, they're just not smart enough to have an ID. They don't have the wherewithal. You're making them jump through hoops that they can't do. So this is the racism of low expectations that we've heard so much about. So that's racist as hell to think that way. And then there's the type on the left that knows that the mail-in voting is how the cheating is done, and they don't want any part of it. Both those types people are scumbags as far as I'm concerned. It's absurd. When you ever get into a debate with somebody about this and they say, oh, black people don't have, or poor people, usually it's black though, because this is the way leftist thinks. They always think through the prism of race because they are naturally racist. When they say this, you say, okay, well, how do you get an EBT card? You have to show an ID to get an EBT card. How do you get heating assistance? How do you get rentals? How do you get Section 8 housing? You have to have an ID for this stuff. Yeah. They can't answer that question because in one instance, the ID gives them free stuff. So they're all fine with that. On the other instance, you're stealing votes. You're manipulating the election. And that they don't want to go near. Oh, that never happens. It happens all the time. And it happened big time in 2020.
Yes. I used to, when people would bring this up, I used to tell them, I've never met a black person in my life that didn't have an ID or didn't know how to get one. Now I say, well, no matter what color they are, if they don't know how to get an ID, I don't think they deserve to vote. Yeah. And that really makes them mad. But very effective. And again, I think that's one of the best weapons that we have is right now make the left furious because then they go do stupid things and then they get arrested. So use that card whenever you can. Well, yet another reason the left is upset right now because the Supreme Court also stepped in and reversed the district court decision and said that Trump can continue the ballroom construction. I almost said destruction. Construction over there. And again, let's remember, people, the ballroom itself is all being paid for with private funds, donations from Trump himself and a number of other gazillionaires that are out there. It's the new expansion that the Department of War wants to do under the ballroom that's being paid for partially by tax dollars. So this continues, and they're big mad because all of a sudden they care about history and that awning over the West Wing that they destroyed. That had historic significance. They took this picture there, and now it's gone, all because of Orange Hitler.
Yeah, and the funny thing is if it were Biden doing this, or if it were even more to the point, if it were Obama doing this, they would love it. They would
Yeah.
scream from the rooftops, "Look at this man! Look at what he's doing, building a legacy. Look at what they're doing. They are creating this." It's the TDS is very, very real from the left, and they're just mind-numbingly stupid.
They're
Of course,
deranged.
the ballroom is a good idea. Of course, it is. But the only way that they can, bitch and moan about it, the only reason they do, rather, is because Trump's in office while it's being built, and it was his idea.
Yes.
And because it was just like they hated America 250 IndyCar race yesterday. They hated that. And I
Yep.
saw Adam Schiff came out and said, meanwhile, he's pissing away all your tax. I'm paraphrasing. But meanwhile, Trump is pissing away all your tax dollars. Gas prices are high, and he's spending all this money. And then everybody came out, and Bobby Rahal's son, I forget his name, came out and said, "Hey, moron, that America 250 IndyCar race was completely privately funded. Taxpayers didn't pay a dime for that, you jerk."
Yes.
But anything to fan the flames of Trump hate, they're going to do.
Oh yeah. Well, they want to erase all this stuff because they don't want to have to look back into history and see Trump's face in the book celebrating America's 250th anniversary, or anything that's renamed like the Trump Kennedy Center, or anything else that he's put his name to, or anything that will be built and he'll have to be remembered for, like a presidential ballroom. They want this erased. They can't stand the trauma. It's like being attacked all over again every time they have to see his face. I mean, again, these people are not mentally stable. And that's the bottom line. That's why they believe this nonsense, whether it's about Lindsay, whatever her name is, that murdered her kids, or they think, trans women exist, or any of the other just mentally deranged nonsense that they believe. And that's why they get up so upset when you call them out on it. Well, we got speaking of getting upset, I'm pretty upset about this one. Bombshell, Trump confirms ICE enforcement proceedings underway against Ilhan Omar over immigration fraud, marrying her brother. Well, I am not. Should I hold my breath, Steve? You think I should start holding my breath? Are they finally going to deport Ilhan Omar? Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Her immigration fraud notwithstanding, and it's very real. The biggest threat that hangs over her right now is financial fraud. Whether it's the Somali scam in Minneapolis, whether it's the fake winery, whatever. But I would say this, they're definitely investigating this woman, and they should. Now, that, of course, begs the question, is anything going to happen to her? I wouldn't hold my breath.
And that's, again, this is unacceptable. Everybody knows between one of these three crimes, there's probably more we don't know about. She's certainly guilty. Let's go ahead and deport her sister. We just connected her to a bunch of fraud with one of these restaurants feeding our families nonsense, where she stole millions of dollars. Let's kick her ass on out of here. If she's married, she can take her husband and her kids with her. I don't care. She's going back to Somalia. And let's do the same with Ilhan. We can give her husband the option. He can go with her. They can continue to be a family over there. They can go make Somalia great again. I mean, after all, that's what she really wants to do. She said herself, she's there in Congress to represent Somalia, not Minnesota.
Hey, Elon, some people did something with millions and millions of dollars, and they stole them. Some people did something. Maybe you should go to jail for it, you bitch.
Yeah.
Maybe you should go to jail for that because you facilitated it. You profited from it. You grifted off of it, and now you're defending it. I don't know what.
And it's not the only example.
What the hell are these Minnesota folks thinking? What are they thinking? I mean, good God, man! This is the party of this is the state that brought us Hubert Humphrey. Hubert Humphrey would be embarrassed of Ilhan Omar. He would be mortified of this woman. So would Walter Mondale, for God's sakes. They have lost their ever-loving mind in Minnesota. And both my parents are from Minnesota, so I
know what the ones are thinking that voted for Ilhan Omar, and that's Durka Mohammed Jihad. I mean, everybody saw the video with James O'Keefe and his harem of women that he vouched for that they would have let vote in Minnesota. And this is what happened. I mean, this is why they have Little Mogadishu. This is why the fraud's been allowed to continue. And it is not going to stop until some real people are held accountable. I don't care about all the Somali pirates that are getting caught. I'm glad they have been. I hope we can take back at least some of our dollars and, and then we can send them back to Somalia. Excuse me. But yeah, some people at the top, Tim Walz, we have connections going to his lieutenant governor. I can't think of her name now. She needs to go too. And you know what? I'm okay with it. We can deport her to Somalia as well.
Too.
Keith Ellison.
And
yeah.
Let me ask you, Michael, have you ever met James O'Keefe?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah, I've interviewed him several times. He's a fascinating guy, but he is the whitest white boy there is. I mean, you don't get much whiter than James O'Keefe. I mean, and I don't mean that as a dig. I'm white too. So are you.
Yeah.
My point is, this shows you the mentality of today's leftists.
Yes.
He goes up to a polling station dressed like a sheik with these women all
a harem of women.
A harem of women.
Some of which were men.
Everybody's white. Well, there are a couple of people of color in there, but they were mostly white. He is as white as a sheet of notebook paper. He puts on the worst possible Middle Eastern accent in the world. And these white people are sitting around going, well, I guess, well, yeah, sure. Go ahead and vote. Yeah, well, absolutely. It's your right. It's your right. I mean, we're not going to.
You're vouching for them? They've all been here?
If you're vouching for them? Okay, well, then we're going to let you get not because they were trying to rig the election, but because they were so filled with liberal guilt and self-hate that they dare not question somebody that is making them look like a complete morons. And James O'Keefe pulled that off. Bravo, James. That was a brilliant, I would say, stunt. And it was a stunt, but it proved the point, didn't it? It proved the point.
It's also this. They knew James O'Keefe and his harem of bitches. If they went in there, they were all going to vote the right way. They were going to vote for whatever DSA radical was on the ballot. They were going to vote for that Hung lady, whatever her name, or no, that was Minnesota. Sorry, that was wrong state, Wisconsin. They knew they were going to vote for whatever jihadis on the ballot up there, and that they need those votes. Those could count. Those could mean something. That could have been the deciding factor right there. So that's the other reason they don't care. Well, California is Newsom signed the Stop Nick Shirley Act into law. Now, I don't expect this to hold up to its first court case. It's going to get bumped up till it goes federal, and then the federal judge is going to be like, yeah, you can't prevent, journalists are protected by the Constitution. You can't prevent people from investigating fraud or fine them or put them in jail or protect the fraudsters. Honestly, I think any legislature that signed on to this law, they are now willing accomplices to any fraud that went on, especially if a journalist investigates it. And again, I think we ought to start. I know a lot of these cases would not go through, but this is where we have to use the DOJ to make these people's lives miserable. There has to be a price for this. So first case of them doing this, you arrest every legislature in California that co-sponsored this bill because they approved fraud or crime. It was deprivation of constitutional rights. Go after them for that. Even if you're going to lose the case, you're going to make them spend a whole lot of money to do it.
Well, I don't think you would lose the case. I mean, the First Amendment is pretty cut and damn dry. These leftists, again, it goes back to their, it's redundant to say they're hypocrites because obviously they're hypocrites. It's redundant to say they're liars. Obviously they're liars, but they can't define a woman, but they sure as hell can define a journalist. And Nick Shirley ain't no journalist. God damn it. That's the way they look at it. Because Nick Shirley isn't doing the kind of journalism that they like, like Hassan Piker. That's a journalist for you. There's a real journalist. They love Hassan Piker, although they're going to try and distance themselves from him quickly, I'm sure. But
some of them will.
But El Sayed is, that's for sure. But Nick Shirley is the GOAT for exposing what happened in Minnesota. And that the state of California would make Minnesota look like a child's piggy bank when it came to the fraud done there, and they do not want that to get out, so they're going to try and stop him. The problem that they have is that Nick Shirley has already spawned many, many, many other citizen journalists, copycat journalists, who are going to go and say, if you bounce out on Nick Shirley, we're coming after you too. And I just don't think, I think that what Nick Shirley ought to do is, and I know he will, this is a thing, he's brave.
Yep.
He's going to go in there and he's going to do what he does, and he's going to wait to get arrested. And the second he gets arrested, this will be bumped to the federal level. Somebody will bump it up there. Somebody, his defense attorneys or somebody will come, and it's going to get thrown out. Gavin Newsom is a scumbag. Anybody stupid enough to vote for Gavin Newsom should never be allowed to vote again. The guy is just a complete and utter political monster. A phony fraud, just a pig at the trough.
Yep. Well, you know what? Again, this is why we need these federal investigations to actually start making some arrests, because we know that him and his family are connected to several of these different frauds that have been perpetrated on the people of California. Not to mention other crimes, previously committed that he's never been held accountable for. But again, that's why we need a DOJ with some testicles that will start actually making some arrests and taking some of these idiots down. You can break the left machine just by having them actually be adhere to the law. I don't care if we get some Rhino Republicans or others in there too. Anybody that's corrupt should be put under the jail and forgotten about. All right, we're going to do the last couple of these rapid fire because we're almost out of time. But Switzerland's asylum crisis, 80% of North Afghan applicants accused of crimes as calls for mass deportations grow. 80%. So I kind of feel like that's 80% that they know about, and there's probably in that remaining 20%. What do you think? At least half of them are probably fugitives from justice. They just haven't been identified yet.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but I do know that every time I read a statistic like this or see what's going on over in Europe and over in the UK and in Ireland with all these immigrants that are just creating absolute hell on earth over there. And they are, and it's not racist to say it. It's just a fact. Every time I see these stories, I just think of Trump's line, "We don't want people from shithole countries." This is what he means. And if you're so stuck up on your liberal white guilt, your bleeding heart, moronic, I know your truth. I get your truth. Your truth is my truth. This kind of BS just makes people laugh at you, but it gets people killed. And they're finding this out in Switzerland, just like they found out in Sweden. I mean, Stockholm, Sweden, we've talked about it before. It used to be one of the safest cities on the planet. It's now the rape capital of Europe, the rape capital.
Yeah, Malmo, Sweden, they have more hand grenade and explosive attacks than any country on earth that is not a current war zone.
Well, there you go. I mean, this is what happens. You open the floodgates up and you say, come one, come all. We're all part of the human family. Guess what? Some cultures do not adapt well to civilized behavior.
No,
it's
not in their nature.
This is what happens when you bury women up to their head in a pit and you stone them to death. You tend to kind of take the value of life kind of is meaningless at that point. If you hear some of these people that get arrested in the UK, a guy got arrested a few weeks ago for trying to pick up a 13-year-old girl, and his excuse was, "She made me want her. She look at her. She's beautiful. I must have this." To them, that's it. That's all they need is this girl. Look at this beautiful little 13-year-old girl. Look at her.
Well, that's what the Quran tells them.
Yeah, so I should have a right to her.
Yep.
You should have a right to a bullet, is what you should have a right to.
Bingo.
I really do hope that this mass deportation starts happening, because we need to start separating the wheat from the chaff in these countries, and not allow ourselves to be turned into a third world hellhole. And again, I go back to what's her name, Angela Merkel. She absolutely destroyed Europe. Angela Merkel is just a tyrant as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a damn what her motivations were, but she destroyed large swaths of Europe and the UK.
Yeah, I really think, she's probably done as much damage to Germany and Europe as Hitler did. Maybe more.
As far as the brand goes, yeah.
Well, because
that's for sure, but
do we know that either? I mean, in the long run, I wouldn't be surprised. And some of these countries will never recover. She'll have succeeded where Hitler failed. She'll have destroyed several countries when this is all said and done. When they become expansions of the caliphate. But I really feel bad for the 20% that haven't yet been accused of a crime there. The 80% of them are just giving them such a bad reputation, and I don't think that's fair.
It's like the old Stephen Wright joke about lawyers. 99% of lawyers give the rest of them a bad name.
Pretty much, and that's exactly what we have going on here. And you're all racist for thinking otherwise. The Girl Scouts of America offer Muslim badges. Wait till you hear how you earn them. You can earn them by going to a mosque, wearing a hijab, participating in Ramadan or something. I don't even remember. But yeah, they're now encouraging your daughters, any of them that belong to the Girl Scouts, which hopefully you've already withdrawn them, to go discover Islam, go participate, go wear a hijab, walk around town like that. See how you get to treat, learn about their religion, learn about the Quran, and we're going to give you a merit badge for it.
Unbelievable. It makes me ashamed of the fact that the Girl Scouts of America started in my home state of Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, to be specific. But the founder of Girl Scouts of America is not rolling over in her grave, seeing what's become of that organization. Boy Scouts of America is trying to claw back to some semblance of normalcy, but they're not there yet. When the left takes over institutions, they destroy them. Whether it's higher education, whether it's the media, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's to a large degree professional sports, they destroy them because they hate what came before. So they have to tear it down and reinvent it. And in this case, they're asking young girls to basically be,
human sacrifices.
Yeah, they're basically just saying, hey, go there and be supplicants here. Whatever, go there and remember, always walk behind the man. The man is in charge. These same people that bitch about the white patriarchy are defending a faith, even though it's really it's not a faith.
Political system, death cult.
But they'll defend that while they despise white male Christians. It doesn't make sense, but to them it does. And the fact that women will be subjugated to second-class citizens, well, that's just because you don't understand Islam, just like we don't understand communism, right? Whatever you say, comrade. I don't know.
Telling you, these bitches are crazy. It's time to start locking them up. We got to make mental institutions great again. We got to start burning witches in the street. When we burnt witches, we had a lot less of this craziness. So it is time to bring that back and bring back the stockades too. You want people to stop shoplifting? I am sick and tired of going to the grocery store and finding the deodorant in jail and having to get an associate to go unlock it for me. It's time to put criminals in jail and let our deodorant and our other things out of jail. It's getting ridiculous. All right, last one for you, and I just think this is funny, from our friends over at not the Babylon Bee. I actually put the wrong thing on there. That is not the Bee. This is a real story. This is not a fake story. My fault for the wrong logo. Report. More people have died from the heat in France this summer than all U.S. mass shootings in recorded history. Guys, maybe you need to take another look at air conditioning. I don't think it's going to murder the planet. I saw this one retard in France, mayor of not Paris, when it was a different city, that said basically she held up a picture that seemed to show like America as a giant air conditioner. You know, the heat comes out of the back of your air conditioner that's outside. That all that heat was blowing over to France, and that's why they had this bad weather. You retards vote for these people and put them in office. Again, that's another woman that needs to be put in the stockades for a while, and she's again guided by her emotions or just miseducated or whatever. You got to get her out of politics. These people are not fit to serve anything.
I'm just reminded of all of the European fans a few weeks ago in the U.S. for the World Cup and how blown away they were by our country and how much they all said, I owe you an apology. You guys are great people. You're friendly hosts. Oh, and by the way, we love the air conditioning. I've been to Europe several times. I know you've been to Europe. They frown on air conditioning. They think that it's There's nothing wrong with air conditioning, you clowns. What's going on with the heat has much more to do with the sun than it does anything we're doing to the planet. Any climatologist that isn't accepting millions and millions of dollars from government officials that are telling them, hey, make sure you mention global warming. Those people know the truth on this. I mean, if our planet is heating up because of us, then why is Venus heating up at the same exponential level? Why is Mars heating up? Last I checked, there weren't any SUVs on Mars.
It's got to be those 2 rovers up there.
It's got to be those 2 rovers. We're destroying Mars as we destroy the Earth. But meanwhile, they don't take a look at the sun. They don't take a look at solar activity because it doesn't, just like they don't take a look at any of this stuff, man. They only embrace the most batshittery things they can come up with, because then it makes them feel good about their pent-up anger and frustration about being a bunch of beta gamma bitches and cunts.
When I see some of this stuff, it just always reminds me, it's like an episode of Impractical Jokers, and somebody's whispering in their ear, just saying how far they can take things. But apparently there's no limit. There is no limit to the delusional level of some of these leftists, that they will just lap it up no matter how crazy it sounds. They won't think twice about it, and then they pretend it's reality. And that's where the danger comes in, is they then make decisions based on just absolute foolishness, nonsense, and delusion, I think, is really the best word for it. They are absolutely delusional. They believe things that don't exist. They think it's the science when it's not the science. And if you call them out on that,
put it this way, Michael, they're virtue signaling people to death. They're literally doing that. In seeking their virtue, they are watching people die, and they feel like, now I've really got to double down on my virtue seeking.
Yeah,
it's pretty sick.
I always wonder if this isn't like just part of their healthcare program over there. I don't know if they have MAID already in France or not. I wouldn't be surprised if they did or they didn't. But they're like, well, we don't have enough old people choosing the suicide pill when they get diagnosed with, a cold. So we can't allow air conditioning. We'll have to kill off more of them that way. Because, they don't have many levers to pull. And, they've got to have money to pay all these migrants that have stormed and invaded their country all their benefits, or they'll burn Paris down. So, maybe that's where the real problem is. I wonder if you're a migrant from North Africa, a boat migrant that stormed the beaches there, if you bought an air conditioner, I wonder if they would get arrested.
Well, I don't know, but I'm sure they would probably say, well, he's finally here living in the civilized world amongst us educated people. If he wants to have air conditioning, God knows he didn't have it in his twig hut, because that's how they think. They're so bloody racist. They're so ungodly racist, while they appointed everybody else and say you're racist.
Yes.
Liberals are the
brain damaged.
They're brain damaged. They're whatever. I don't even get me started, because you know what my thoughts on it are. But I do know that that Europe is going through an existential crisis right now, and it's going to be over. The summer's about to be over, but their crisis is going to remain, because they have stupidly surrendered their own sovereignty in the name of virtue signaling. So, like I said, they are virtue signaling their own countries to death. It's suicide by compassion, faux compassion. It's pathetic.
Now, they're about to get some food price shock, and I hear a few countries are within a week of running out of diesel in Europe. And when that happens, guys, it's going to get real bad over there real fast. And, who knows? You guys keep begging Putin for a war. Maybe that's when he'll strike. Any closing thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with here? Any words of wisdom, Steve?
Well, no real words of wisdom. I think we've done a pretty good job of that here today. I would say that I'll be back Wednesday at 4:00. This last week I had to work, so it wasn't feasible. But this week we'll be back 4 p.m. Looking forward to it. You'll be with me, Michael, and I look forward to sitting down and discussing what happens next in this crazy world we live in.
Yes, what fresh hell awaits us by the end of the week. All right, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And I'll be